Prince Harry touched down in the UK with a mission, and it wasn't the one Meghan Markle imagined. Forget cozy family catch-ups or polite tea around the table. This trip had a sharper purpose, reclaiming his place inside the royal circle. And Harry didn't arrive empty-handed. He came armed with something far more powerful than words, his phone, loaded with photos and videos of Archie and Lilibet, like royal playing cards ready to be placed before King Charles. The meeting wasn't long, just 55 minutes, but it carried the weight of years. Nearly 2 years of silence, press wars, and icy distance finally broke inside Clarence's house. No Camilla, no aides, just a father and son with a mountain of tension between them. And in that silence, Harry pulled out the only proof that still mattered, his children. Archie, seen only a handful of times. Lilibet, just once. For Charles, it was a fleeting glimpse into a life he'd been cut out of. But here's the twist, Meghan wasn't part of any of it. Not in the room, not in a statement, not even in spirit. For her, this wasn't peace, it was a warning. Because while Harry was smiling in London, greeting fans, glowing in the royal spotlight again, Meghan was thousands of miles away in California, clinging to a brand no one seemed to want. She's tried to reinvent herself, wellness guru, lifestyle queen, the face of a new empire, but Harry's presence in the UK is unraveling the very story she spent years building. This wasn't the Sussex package deal. This was Harry, full stop. And for Meghan, that's dangerous. Their identity as rebels only works if they're united against the monarchy. But now, Harry looks like he might want back in. Meghan looks like she's been left out. 4 years, she's controlled the story through interviews, headlines, carefully chosen words. When things soured, she leaned on victimhood, the bullied duchess, the silenced outsider. But how does that narrative hold if Harry is beaming over tea with his father? Even the children, once hidden like treasures behind California gates, became part of the quiet chess game. The photos weren't just a sweet gesture, they were leverage. Harry's way of saying, this is what you've missed, and this is what I can give back. And that, more than anything, reveals the truth. This trip wasn't about Meghan. It wasn't even about the kids. It was about Harry taking control of the story, perhaps for the first time in years. The truth is hard to escape. Harry knows he gave something up when he walked away. Maybe it took him years to admit it, but deep down, he feels it. In Britain, he was a prince, a hero, the golden son. In California, he's just another man searching for purpose between therapy sessions and casual surf lessons. No Netflix series, no backyard chicken coop can replace what he left behind. You can take him out of the palace, but you can't take the palace out of him. He's confided to friends that this life isn't what he imagined. The promises, financial freedom, creative control, a grand sense of purpose, came with a cost, and the shine faded quickly. Meghan's fire still burns, but Harry's spark dimmed, until now. Coming home, even for a brief visit, reminded him of who he once was. Prince Harry, the people's prince, beloved, respected, more than just a headline. And that's the twist Meghan never saw coming. Not a scandal. Not a failed podcast. But her husband rediscovering the part of himself that doesn't need her to feel whole. Back in Montecito, the mood wasn't celebratory. Meghan, who long painted their exit as freedom, now watched from afar as Harry re-entered the very world she fought to escape. Her carefully crafted story of a cold, outdated institution was clashing against Harry's warmth and ease back in the UK. And if there's one thing Meghan fears, it's losing control of the narrative. Her California life is perfectly staged: early mornings, brand meetings, investor calls, every detail managed to the minute. She wants to be everything: CEO, creative visionary, public icon, but ends up stretched thin, juggling projects that rarely stick. Her lifestyle brand struggles to take off, and industry whispers say the market isn't buying what she's selling. But her biggest challenge isn't business, it's optics. Harry was meant to be her partner in this rebellion. Instead, he's emerging as the solo act, thriving again in the spotlight she thought they'd left behind. The trip proved something Meghan never wanted to face. The British people may question Harry, but they still embrace him far more than they ever accepted her. He's the prodigal son. She's the outsider. As Harry walked through London with an ease that looked almost natural, Meghan's absence was louder than any headline. Insiders whisper of a shift, not screaming fights, but a quiet distance. Meghan now runs her empire alone, controlling her brand and her image. Harry, meanwhile, drifts in the background, evenings empty while she works late into the night. The truth is simple. Harry thrives on connection. He's never been the cold, calculating type. He needs people, energy, the buzz of a crowd. That's why the UK felt like oxygen after years of suffocation. For the first time in ages, he wasn't hiding behind PR lines or walking on eggshells. He was just Harry, laughing with veterans, waving to fans, smiling with ease. He fit. And that's what rattles Meghan most. Because if Harry begins to believe he belongs back there, what happens to the life they built here? The brand, the identity, the rebellion, it all starts to crumble. Meghan didn't walk away from royalty just to end up stuck in limbo, half royal, half influencer. Yet that's exactly where she and Harry now find themselves. The big money Netflix contracts are fading, Spotify's gone, and Hollywood isn't calling the way it used to. The celebrity machine doesn't wait, and it certainly doesn't care. Without that Sussex edge, they're just another fading name in a crowded sea of content creators. So, the question is, what does Meghan do now? She can't openly fight against Harry's glowing return to the UK. That would only feed whispers of cracks in their marriage. But she can't fully embrace it either, because his newfound shine threatens everything she's built since leaving the palace. For Meghan, stepping back into royal life even on the sidelines means bowing, smiling through clenched teeth, and obeying traditions she swore she'd never tolerate again. She's not going back. Not ever. But Harry? He just might. Not because he misses the bowing and the rituals, but because he misses the respect, the admiration, the certainty of belonging to something bigger than himself. In Britain, he mattered. In California, he's Meghan's husband, often reduced to a soundbite in her interviews or a background figure in her career moves. And that sits uncomfortably with a man who was once the most beloved royal after his mother. His trip to the UK made that clear. The public's response wasn't just polite, it was real. Crowds cheered, veterans saluted, strangers smiled with warmth he hadn't felt in years. California gave him sunshine. Britain gave him purpose. And that difference shook something loose inside him. Meghan saw it too. She smiled for cameras, supported him publicly, but behind the scenes, sources say she was unsettled. This wasn't supposed to happen. Harry was meant to grow more dependent on her, not rediscover himself without her. Yet that's exactly what's happening. He's remembering the version of himself that existed long before Meghan and realizing it might flourish again. The irony is painful. Meghan pulled Harry out of the palace to protect him, to free him, to build something new together. But now, that very freedom has given him a taste of who he was before her, and he likes it. Not the rigid monarchy, but the identity, the respect, the sense of legacy. And for Meghan, that's more threatening than any tabloid headline. On the flight back to California, Harry sat quietly, scrolling through photos of smiling faces, warm reunions, and genuine moments of connection. The weight in his chest wasn't nostalgia, it was clarity. For the first time in years, he felt what life could be without constant tension, without image management, without pretending to be someone else. When he landed, Meghan was waiting. Polished, composed, smiling with eyes that asked questions before her mouth did. She wanted to know how it went, not out of curiosity, but calculation. Did he say the right things? Did he protect the brand? Did he stick to the plan? Harry answered politely, but part of him was already elsewhere. Because no amount of curated Instagram posts or photo ops could replace what he just felt back home: belonging, legacy, respect. Meghan noticed the shift immediately. It was in the quiet meals, the shorter conversations, the empty spaces where laughter used to live. Harry began drifting, surfing, taking long drives, escaping into the open air. Meghan, ever the strategist, buried herself deeper into work. Calendars packed with Zoom calls, product launches, charity appearances, as though she could outrun the truth. But the truth was catching up. The British press called Harry's visit a soft reset. American outlets labeled him the homesick prince. The narrative was slipping out of her hands. And for Meghan, losing control of the story was the one thing she could never accept. Every headline, every smiling crowd shot chipped away at the carefully crafted story they'd spent years building. Inside their circle, the mood turned heavy. Friends close to Harry say he's changed, more thoughtful, less impulsive, quietly weighing the future. He's asking about his children, about the kind of life he truly wants for them. And more, the answers don't point toward Montecito. They point toward Windsor, Balmoral, Clarence House, toward legacy, not lifestyle. For Meghan, that's dangerous territory. Reinvention has always been her superpower. From Hollywood actress to duchess to brand builder, she's shaped her life through constant evolution. But reinvention only works if your partner evolves with you. And Harry, he isn't moving forward. He's looking back, rewinding, reconnecting with the version of himself she thought they'd buried for good. Now, whispers circle quietly. Not divorce, not yet, but distance. Separate projects, separate appearances. Harry slipping back to the UK more often. Meghan tightening her grip on the American market. Publicly, it would be dressed up as personal growth, mutual support, individual journeys. But underneath, it would be a fracture. At the heart of it are two children, Archie and Lilibet. Royal by blood, but raised in exile. Harry wants them to know their roots, to walk the same gardens he did, to feel the warmth he just rediscovered. Meghan isn't convinced. Her dream for them has always been independence, freedom from tradition, freedom from duty. But Harry is learning that freedom can feel a lot like isolation. And children need more than ideals. They need connection, family, legacy. That's why the moment with King Charles mattered. For all his flaws, Charles gave Harry something rare, unfiltered time. No Camilla, no aides, no advisors, just father and son. It lasted only 55 minutes, but it cracked something open in Harry. The realization that maybe not every bridge needs to be burned. That some ties, however fragile, are worth holding on to. The monarchy hasn't fully welcomed him back. Trust remains fractured. William keeps his distance. The institution still sees him as unpredictable. But for the first time in years, the door isn't locked. It's cracked open, and that alone changes everything. As autumn approaches, word spreads that Harry is planning another visit. Quiet. Low profile. Maybe even with the children. Meghan is said to be calculating the optics, but this time, she doesn't hold the cards. Because Harry has found something stronger than a brand deal, stronger than a streaming contract. He's found purpose. And purpose doesn't bend to spin. Whatever comes next won't arrive with a press release or a staged announcement. It'll reveal itself in the quiet choices where Harry spends his time, whose company he keeps, which causes he takes up, and who he brings his children to meet. And one day, maybe not soon, but inevitably, the cameras will catch Harry back on British soil, surrounded by something far more powerful than headlines: belonging.